I used to be a Boy Scout. I wasn't a very good Boy Scout or a productive Boy Scout, but, you know, I was a Boy Scout, and that's normal, right? And then, you know, I was doing my Boy Scout things. I was going on camp outs, eating, actually, I was about to say eating s'mores, but we banned s'mores for some reason. I don't know, which is stupid because that's what camping's all about, getting food and eating it. It taught me life lessons that I need to know, and, like, they kind of helped in the real world. But at the same time, I never left the scout rank. I barely left Webelow, which is when you're supposed to level up from scouts. That sounds really nerdy. Then we went to the first summer camp, and this was what pushed my mental state out of, like, the window. And we went to a summer camp where I had to stay with an Asian boy. I'm not sure if we're still friends. I haven't talked to him in years. But he was the stereotypical person. But the problem with him, he was also a pyromaniac. If you don't know what a pyromaniac is, it means they like to burn things. You see, in Boy Scouts, you're supposed to get a totem chip so you can carry a knife. You get a fireman's chip so you can carry matches and do fires. And then you have to do some other stuff. But and that camp was supposed to get us everything. First day we got there, the kid I was sleeping with, oh shoot, that sounded bad. The kid that was bunking with me went to the store. And since he's a pyromaniac, he's like, I wonder if they sell matches here. So they sold him matches, which was not allowed because he didn't have his little thing. He went around trying to light things on fire, which was a very interesting turn of events, going to a Boy Scout camp and then getting chased around by an do anything. We'll call him Eric. Eric would chase us around and mess with us, and he'd have his matches with him. AKA, I was trying not to get burned, and I would run away. And he would light leaves, he would try and light trees, he would do anything that could possibly be flammable. He tried to light on fire. It was just normal Boy Scout things, nothing to be alarmed about. In the middle of the night, we didn't have phones. I mean, we didn't have our phones because they didn't allow it. So around 2 in the morning, I'm going to estimate because it was dark out, we had Eric sitting next to me in a tent, in his bed, like right across from me, with matches. And our tent was made kind of out of tarp, and it was very cheap, and it was very bad. If you're wondering where the campsite is, it's Otari, O-T-A-R-I. I think I can say that's because this isn't like slander, this is literal exact experiences from it. Anyways, I look over and I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you lighting our tent on fire? And he's like, oh, I just want to see if it's flammable. And I'm like, okay, buddy, the tent that is very flammable you were trying to light with matches while we're inside it. He's like, correct? And I'm like, okay. And then I go back to sleep, but very cautiously, because he put his matches down, and I sat there, and I hoped I was not going to get burned alive that night. Surprisingly, I didn't get burned alive that night. Not a very exciting night. I kind of felt a fear for my life. But that's not all that happened. They decided, our counselor, who knows he's a pyromaniac, and a crazy person in general, decided, yeah, let's go get their merit badges today and get totem chip, fireman chip. So then we had to first, to get our totem chip, we had to show that we could be smart with knives. I don't remember everything, but this had nothing to do with knives, but we ended up throwing axes. Nothing crazy happened. I think he possibly could have almost killed a kid with it, but that's kind of faded out of my memory. I don't remember the axes, but what I do remember is him getting his firemanship. And what we did was we had to cook a meal on a fire, and we wrapped our food, or like meat, in tinfoil, threw it on the fire, and then we're like, oh, we gotta keep the fire going. And you know how wilderness people do that? They use lighter fluid. And the counselor's like, yeah, who wants to pour the lighter fluid? And everyone's like, yeah, I don't want to die, because lighter fluid pouring onto a fire from the bottle equals explosion. And Eric sits there, and he raises his hand, and he's the only one that raised their hand, and everyone takes a good 6 feet back. Except 1 or 2 kids, and one of them was me, because I really was interested in what was going to happen to all the people. And then there was another guy, no clue what his name is. Even if I try to hide his name, I couldn't figure out. So let's call Bob. So Bob and me are still close to the fire, and I'm laughing, and I'm having a good time. You know, I'm watching Eric pour lighter fluid onto the fire. And he wasn't doing like the casual, like squirt just a little bit on the fire. It's okay, only a little bit on the fire. No. You see, he decided, I'm just gonna dump the whole thing. So he starts dumping the whole thing. To be honest, he did not take the cap off, so it wasn't like a full, like, whole bottle on it at once. But he was dripping in a pretty insane amount on it consecutively. And it got to the point where it was pretty big fire. And he was happy. Then he kind of backs up a little bit and pours the lighter fluid right near where it's basically drizzling on Bob's shoe. Now, thankfully, his shoe didn't catch on fire, but it could have. And the counselor is yelling, stop, stop, stop. Please stop pouring lighter fluid. And he finally, you know, whatever, I'll stop. He checks how much lighter fluid's left in the bottle. He opens it up, and what to our surprise, there's a quarter left of a full lighter fluid bottle. This kid poured 75% of lighter fluid out of the bottle onto a live fire with a bunch of 10 to 13-year-olds standing around it, trying not to get burnt. Now, I'll tell you one thing. We did not, well, I got my food. It was incredibly burnt, but we did get our food. Most of us. Well, just like 3 people, because the rest of the food burnt in the fire. There was nothing left. We could only find 2 or 3 packages of food left. We're kind of wondering, I wonder how that happened. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Fire, food, a lot of fire equals no more food. And I didn't think he could turn the food to ashes, but apparently he did. Makes perfect sense now, but I'm a stupid 10-year-old kid, so I don't understand that. You realize, hey, we're not eating lunch today, so you have to go to the cafeteria because there is literally no food for anyone to eat except for like 2 people. And to be honest, my food didn't have my name on it. We were supposed to write our names on it, but I kind of just figured, hey, Eric, if you're gonna burn our fire, I'm gonna take your food, because his food survived. Which, you know, coincidence, but I think not. But I don't think mine did. His last name was the same letter as my first name, Z. So, I mean, I could be like, oh, I rubbed the other part off, the other letter, his first name letter, and I rubbed it off, and I'm like, oh, I just put a Z on it. Z for Zach. And the counselor's like, fine. So I ate my charred food, went on our day, went to the cafeteria, got quote-unquote real food. I don't think, you know, starving children in Africa would even want to eat that food. But I got my firemanship. He got his firemanship. And we went back to camp. Then, when we went back to camp, there was something great that happened. We had a fire. And guess who got to be in charge of the fire? Eric. Now, on the good side, Eric did not burn anything. But we did sit around the fire. And we figured out something new. I didn't think happen, but apparently it does. If you throw rocks in a fire, they blow up, and I got my eye almost taken out by a rock. If that wasn't bad enough, then we had kids go hiking from our Boy Scout camp, and then they climbed the huge hill because they got to have phones because they were older kids and could be trusted or something. And when they got to the top, they got cell service, which wasn't a thing, and they were like, yay, we got cell service. And then they started their descent after sending their Snapchats, doing their streaks, whatever. I sound like a boomer saying that, but whatever. And then they head back down the hill. And the only issue with them heading back down the hill is that they didn't follow the trail back. So they ended up kind of sliding. And then I hear about an hour or 2 later on the intercom that went across a huge camp. I don't know. It was very loud and annoying. We got 4 hikers missing. 4 Boy Scouts have been missing from troop. And then they said our troop number, and I'm like, oh, that's great. Those kids are missing. They are dead. And we started making fun of them for being dead. And then that was the very highlight of my life. Making fun of dead people was funny, I guess. I don't know. But they were fine. They slid down the mountain. They got lost. It's whatever. They got found. I remember waking up the next day and hearing the loudest siren I have ever heard in my life. And I hear, evacuate, evacuate, evacuate. And then I hear the Scoutmasters jump out of bed, start screaming, and we evacuate to the lunchroom, which was nasty because no one cleaned it. Very poor standards at Camp Atari. I'm shouting you out because you suck. And I love sitting in the lunchroom, freezing cold lunchroom, while it is about to drop a tornado on us. Or was a hurricane or something. And a hurricane or something or a tornado was going through. And it was windy, it was raining, I'm soaking wet, and I'm walking about half a mile to get to the meeting room. And it was not very fun. We got there. They tried to get us to sing along. At that point, I tried to go to sleep. And they're like, no. And then we were up until about probably 4 in the morning. And then I went to sleep. And then they woke us up at 6 in the morning. We're like, I go back to your camp. Nothing happened. And then I'm like, okay, buddy, what is this? I had the greatest time packing up, getting ready to leave. Being able to leave my tent with a pyromaniac in it and then go home to my parents. But we had to do the camp ceremony before we left. They gave us very undercooked hot dogs or very overcooked hot dog. And then they gave us really poorly made, really cheap hot dog buns and hamburger buns. I remember my friend having to use the bathroom. And I'm like, all right, go to the come back to camp. You can go to the bathroom, whatever. You can go in the woods, whatever. And he's like, no. I gotta poop. I gotta get toilet paper. And I gotta go now because I'm about to poop myself. And, he went into that. We waited outside the porta potty, knocked on the door, and there's this little 7-year-old giggle I hear from inside the porta potty. He goes in the porta potty. The 7-year-old walks out. The second 7-year-old walks out with this rancid smell, and he had smeared his poop all over the porta potty. It was like unrecognizable. The whole thing was brown, and he was smiling and giggling. And you know what? You know what my friend did? He went into the bathroom and used it anyways because he got to poop. He's not trying to poop his pants. And I feel bad for him. Even being like, I smelled the bathroom. I didn't even go into it. And I smelled it and I knew, oh my, this kid's going to kill himself if he goes in there. He needs a gas mask. And I don't know how he did it, but he pooped. And then I got home. I took a nice bath. And then I had about my whole, from my hip down, I had a full infection, full skin infection, full rash, full infection, whatever you want to call it. It was so bad from the poor conditions we were given there. The showers we literally couldn't go in because of they would either they had metal floors. Well, not metal, but I don't know what they had on the floor, and it would rust over. And I didn't want to get tetanus, so I didn't use the shower much. I used it a couple times. But I stunk a lot, but, it's better than getting tetanus. It's a great skin infection. I mean, would not recommend. Don't go to Camp Atari. If your Scoutmaster is like, hey, go to Camp Atari. Don't go. Say, hey, Dusty says it's disgusting in a rancid place. And then show him the video. Yeah. Don't go to Camp Atari. Like and subscribe if you want to hear more of my Boy Scout stories. I got about, a good 10 videos worth of them. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I will see you next time. Bye.